If you were in the market for a small crossover and you didn't have a lot of money to spend, the Nissan Kicks has always been a great option. It did have a few limiting factors though. You couldn't get it with all-wheel drive, it certainly didn't have the most room in the class, and it was really, really slow. Well, Nissan has come out with the all-new second generation of its tiny Kicks. This is the 2025 Kicks. We are reviewing it in the top SR trim level. Nissan has done a total redesign on this car. It is bigger than before. You can get a lot more technology than you could in the previous model. Finally, you can get all-wheel drive and a whole lot more. Let's dive in and see if this all-new Kicks can finally make an entry-level crossover feel more premium. So let's start off on the exterior, where the Kicks has really had quite the glow up here. This one was designed and inspired by sneaker culture, so we're seeing a lot of really cool textures on the lower portions of the car. We're seeing this really cool two-tone paint job. There are some really good colors on this car, some of which are locked to the top SR trim, which we are reviewing, including this beautiful Arctic ice with the black roof. You can also get a really cool color called yuzu yellow with a black roof. I love that Nissan offers some fun colors still. You're not just locked to the boring ones. We do have this kind of new like several decker, quad decker headlight design here, where you have your running light down here, your main headlight up here. I am really liking the grille as well with the little orange SR logo. You can see some of those textures that I talked about here on the lower fascia. We do have 8.4 inches of ground clearance as well, which is pretty good. Not quite as much as what you get from a Subaru Crosstrek, but still really cool. You've got these tri-spoke wheels on this SR trim, which I think are really nice looking, if I'm being honest. I think they're very stylish and very unique. We have more of that texture here on the rocker panel down here. As I mentioned, we have the two-tone combination. There are a bunch of different two-tones that you can get on this car. You can get black roof, as you see here. There's also a red roof that you can get with the gray car, and you can actually get a gray roof on a different blue. It's more of a navy blue with a gray roof. Just some really nice two-tone options. I really dig two-tones on affordable cars like this. Really makes them stand out. We do have a really unique taillight signature that is very different than the previous generation Kicks, as well as our Kicks logo right here, our SR badge right here. And then we don't really have any exposed tailpipes except for that little guy hanging out down there. You know, this is not a performance car, but we do at least have a nice little spoiler here on the roof that blends in really well because of the black roof. Moving on to the interior, we are seeing some really big improvements to the Kicks' cabin. This is still a very affordable car, but it's very impressive how Nissan has managed to pack so many features in here without really ballooning the price too much. Now, we have the top SR trim level, so this is the most expensive trim, and then we do have an SR premium package on top of that, which is an additional $2,000, gets you a lot of the features you're going to be seeing here. The seats, for the first time ever on a Kicks, are going to be Nissan's famous zero gravity seats, so they are much more comfortable than I remember the outgoing ones to be. Just very, very supportive as well. Lots of stuff going on here. We've got red and gray stitching. We've got some reddish orange right here. We've got this really cool textured fabric here in the middle, leather here on the outside, although I believe it is leatherette, not real leather. We still have the Bose speakers in the headrest. That has been a Kicks signature since the model was released. Really love these. These are part of that $2,000 optional SR package, as is the panoramic roof. Hello, like that's crazy to see on a car this price. But again, that is part of that as well. And I should mention that these seats are also heated as part of that package, as is this steering wheel, which is one of Nissan's newer steering wheel designs. We've got our push button start down here. And you'll quickly notice that, whoa, this is not what you used to get in the previous generation of Kicks. That is correct, because we now have dual 12.3-inch displays, the same ones you'd expect to find on like a Rogue or even a Murano or even way more expensive cars than that. This is Nissan's latest software. The resolution and sort of the contrast is a little bit lower than what you'd expect on some of Nissan's other models, but For the screen size and the usability and like the nice layout of it, I'm going to forgive that, especially at this price point. And it does have wireless Android Auto and wireless Apple CarPlay as well. And this screen does come standard. What does not come standard is this larger 12.3 inch gauge cluster. This is only available on the top SR trim level. You're going to be getting a 7-inch gauge cluster on the lower trims, but that's fine by me. This is pretty much what we've come to expect from Nissan lately. Tons of different customization. You can have, big menu items here in the middle, or you can switch to more traditional gauge layout as well. We'll talk about this a little bit more on the road, but we finally have Nissan's Pro Pilot Assist here on the Kicks for the first time ever. In terms of materials, they've done a pretty nice job making a cheap car feel premium. Soft touch up here on the dash. This looks like carbon fiber. It's actually kind of like a squishy leatherish material with like a pretty nice feel. It's actually a really nice place to put your hand on to rest while you push stuff on the touchscreen. So I do really like that as well. Still have a decent number of buttons and knobs. Big volume knob here. Play, fast forward and rewind here. Camera button is going to take you to your 360 camera, which is available on the top SR trim level. You have some different camera views, not the best resolution, but still really nice to have on a car this affordable. One annoying thing that I don't like here on this top SR trim level is that we do have touch capacitive buttons down here for the climate controls. They're just a little bit annoying, and all you get is this little tiny ribbon down here to let you know when you've made any changes to it, which is kind of small, especially when you're in CarPlay already. I really wish there was just a screen down here that showed all of this stuff changing. But again, this is how you are able to pack this many features in on this type of budget. We do have some nice orange here around the trim with some nice stitching, again, because we have the SR trim level. We've got 2 USB-C ports. Nissan has moved on to USB-C, but we do also have a wireless charger down here as well. So really a huge upgrade in here compared to what we had in the previous generation Kicks, and I'm honestly baffled that they were able to give this car such an overhaul in here. Now, the Kicks is far from a massive vehicle. It is classified as a subcompact, but it has got a little bit bigger from the previous generation. You're going to get a little under an inch more of legroom, so decent amount of space back here. You can see they've kind of carved out the seat to give people as much room as possible back here. No air vents as you would expect on an affordable vehicle like this, but we do have some USB-C ports here, which is quite a nice touch as well. And we do also have a folding armrest here in the SR trim with some cup holders in it. And if you need a decent amount of trunk space, the Kicks is not huge, but it's got a good amount of space. We've got 30 cubic feet here behind the second row. That's up from 25 in the previous generation car. We've got 60 cubic feet if you go ahead and fold down the rear seats 60/40 style, which is an increase from last year's model, which had about 53 cubic feet of storage. We also have a little bit of storage underneath the floor here. You can actually see it's quite deep. You do have the ability to kind of drop this floor down like so, giving you a little bit more storage space here in the trunk if you do need that as well. No power lift gate, which again shouldn't be surprising given this car's price point. All right, now let's get the new Nissan Kicks out on the road because there's certainly a lot to talk about here. We now have a larger engine than was in the previous generation of Kicks. That had a little 1.6 liter 4-cylinder engine, no turbocharging, no hybrids, no nothing like that. And we haven't really gotten more advanced in that regard, but we have at least gotten a little bit of a bigger engine, a 2-liter unit now, which is, pretty big for a subcompact car like this. It's basically the same engine now that you get in the Sentra, whereas it used to be the same engine that you would get in the Versa. And with that bigger engine comes more power. 141 horsepower, 140 pound-feet of torque. That's up from the previous numbers of 122 and 114. Those were really, really low, even in this segment where the numbers aren't very high to begin with. So I think that's going to be a pretty nice story, at least on paper, the fact that now the Kicks actually has a little bit of oomph, still going out through an Xtronic CVT. I can already hear all of the comments saying how bad Nissan's CVTs are, but I've really never experienced that. Perhaps there is a ounce of truth that the reliability of this transmission has not been there in the past. I believe that it has gotten a heck of a lot better on these cars. And in terms of just the driving experience in general, the CVT is honestly pretty great. You put your foot down on it, and it shifts. It doesn't really shift because there are no gears, but it doesn't just do that thing where it kind of just sits and whines the whole time. No, it does bounce the revs a little bit, giving you that feeling of changing gears. And that definitely improves the acceleration experience, at least for me. And that's just in normal mode. We do actually have a sport mode here that I can put it in. We just have sport, standard, and eco. Nothing too crazy. The only notable changes that I can really see from this sport mode is that the RPMs on the CVT are just going to sit a little bit higher when you have sport mode engaged versus when you're just in the standard mode, meaning that if you need a quick burst of acceleration, it's a little bit more responsive, but responsiveness is actually pretty good. That's one of the reasons I do actually like continuously variable transmissions on cars like this, is that it does give you that really smooth, very instant throttle response. It doesn't have to hunt through a bunch of different gears when you desire a quick burst of acceleration. And then when on the deceleration, you don't have that sort of movement of shifting through the gears. You just have a really nice smoothness to it. And the rest of the Kicks experience is pretty similar. The one complaint I have is that the suspension, not the most refined, but the steering is actually pretty good. I would say this is like a decently kind of fun, not fun, but fun-ish car to drive. And now we have Nissan's kind of best safety technology added to its most affordable car, or at least its most affordable crossover. We now have Pro Pilot Assist, which is going to add steering assist. We already had a lot of other really good features available in the Kicks, but now we pretty much have everything. Adaptive cruise control, steering assist, 360 camera, pretty much everything you could want in a more expensive car, now brought to a more affordable price point. Now, the big question is, does the extra power of the Kicks actually help it go any faster? Because while this car has gained a significant amount of power from its bigger engine, it's also gained a good bit of weight. This model is heavier, and that's not even including the fact that you can now get it with all-wheel drive. So why don't we try and get it off the line as quickly as possible here. There's those shifts I was telling you about. Still going. Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. 0 to 60 in 9.2 seconds. So it's not quite a 10-second car. Like, it's not quite the most sluggish thing in the world. But boy, oh boy, even with the extra power, it's kind of a wash because of how much they've increased the weight with all the size increase and all of the extra features. And it's even heavier with all-wheel drive, so it's probably even slower than that because we're only driving the front-wheel drive version. Yeah, 9.2 seconds is definitely not spry, but you should probably know that going in when you're looking at a car like the Kicks. And then the other thing is, this increase in power is not like completely free. You are paying a little bit in terms of fuel economy. You get 28 mpg in the city, 35 on the highway, and 31 combined. That's with this front-wheel drive model. That's down a little bit from last year when it got 31 in the city, 36 on the highway, and 33 combined. So it was above 30 across the board. And the all-wheel drive model is actually going to lower that even a little bit more. So you'll get 27, 34, 30 mpg. Still pretty good, but it's just worth noting that when you see that extra power on paper, just know that it's really not all that much quicker than the outgoing Kicks because it weighs more. That wraps up my time with the all-new 2025 Nissan Kicks, and now all that's left to do is talk about the pricing and deliver a verdict on this car. Now, the Kicks has always been one of the most affordable crossovers that you could buy in America. This one still is. There's certainly been a good amount of price creep Obviously, they've added all-wheel drive, they've added size, they've added new features. So you should expect that this model is going to get a little bit more expensive, but Nissan has still managed to keep it at what I believe is a really nice price. For the base S trim, you're looking at $21,830 before destination. Add $1,500 to that to get all-wheel drive. By the way, all-wheel drive is available on all three trim levels, so you're looking at $23,330 with all-wheel drive. The mid-level SV, which is where I think most people are probably going to want to be at, is $23,680 or $25,330 with all-wheel drive. And then finally, this SR trim, which is really nice. You start getting some features that I'm shocked Nissan was able to put in a little vehicle like that. You get the bigger gauge cluster, you get heated seats, heated steering wheel. You can have available features like the panoramic roof and the Bose speakers. Some really nice features here. $26,180, $27,680 if you get it with the all-wheel drive. And you do need to add the SR premium package, which we have on this model. That's an additional just under $2,000. Gets you the moonroof, the Bose speakers, the heated seats in the wheel, remote engine start, and rain sensing wipers. I think if you're going to go for the SR, you might as well spend $2,000 to get that package. Really makes this thing a really nice feature-packed car for what is still a pretty affordable price. With the two-tone paint color that you see here, you're looking at just under $31,000. That's with destination included. So you're probably still in the low 30s, even if you wanted to add all-wheel drive, making this a pretty great value, all things considered. Are there things that I'd like to see them add? You know, a hybrid would be great, but that would probably increase the price. And, you know, even with more power, it hasn't really gotten that much faster, but they've still managed to keep it relatively, you know, nice to drive. And they haven't really hurt the fuel economy too bad either. So let me know in the comments what you think. Would you buy the Nissan Kicks over something like a Chevy Trax? Let me know. And as always, leave a like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to be alerted of our latest videos. I'll see you next time.